In your headlines, the EMS department is celebrating their pre-hospital clinicians across the TCI. Former Salvation Army captain has received his sentence after pleading guilty to charges of sexual offenses. And after a week of heavy rain and some flooding around parts of Providenciales, alerted those in authority to take stock of the country's drainage systems. From the PTV Broadcasting Headquarters in Providenciales, your #1 source for news, I'm Erica Pinales, delivering the latest from across the country this Tuesday, May 17th, 2022, right to your door. Newswatch starts now. Former Salvation Army Captain Derek Miller has received his sentence after pleading guilty to charges of a number of sexual offenses. Here are the details.
48-year-old Derek Miller has been sentenced to 11 years for the rape of 2 underage girls, and the people say 11 years is just not enough. The ex-Salvation Army captain was first brought before the law back in 2020 when messages were found in one of the victims' phone by a relative. Persons have since taken to Facebook to express their anger and disgust over the ordeal, which was delivered in grave detail by one media house, persons calling the delivery of information unprofessional and insensitive, especially as it relates to the minors involved. Quote, "This is not justice at all. I am heartbroken for the 2 girls. We need to advocate for stricter sentencing." Another, "He should have life in prison with no parole. From reading this, he should be put away for at least 20+ years or more." One person commenting on the delivery of the story said, quote, "The part that's getting to me is how the newspaper is going into full depth of the sexual encounters these victims endured. It's too much information and embarrassing to these young girls, causing more damage. This is sick, not informative, just sick." Others had other concerns, like whether or not the offender would be deported back to his home of Guyana after serving his sentence. Back in March, Miller pled guilty to 2 counts of attempted rape and 1 count of raping a child under 16 years, and 5 counts of raping a child under 13 years. He was sentenced to 9 years imprisonment on each count of attempted rape and 22 years imprisonment on each count of rape. The sentences are to run concurrently, and time spent is taken into account. Miller met the victims back in 2014 when they were 6 and 8 years old, during his time as a pastor of the Salvation Army Church. However, the assaults would begin years later in 2020, beginning with the victim who was 11 years old at the time. Court proceedings revealed the months of assault that the young girls faced at the hands of Derek Miller, who both they and their families had come to know and trust. It was revealed that the older brother of the younger victim had come into possession of the girl's phone, and upon examining it, discovered a gravely inappropriate and suggestive conversation between his sister and then Salvation Army pastor. He reported the matter and handed over the phone to police. After being interviewed, it was learned that Miller was having sexual encounters with the young girl, which began sometime in March of 2020. She revealed that the acts would take place at his home in Blue Hills or the Salvation Army Church building. Similar encounters began with the other victim months later in January of 2021. During sentencing, one of the victims presented a victim impact statement while the other refused. In her statement, she spoke of the effects that dreadful ordeal has had on her. She says she is often sad and has trust issues, especially around men. However, she feels safer knowing that Miller is now in prison.
The National Emergency Medical Services Department is celebrating their pre-hospital clinicians across the Turks and Caicos Islands. Take a look. Under the theme Rising to the Challenge, the National Emergency Medical Services Department is celebrating their pre-hospital clinicians across the Turks and Caicos Islands.
I think this EMS Week 2022 is unique for what we're going to be accomplishing during this time, but it's definitely been celebrated in the past, and we're extremely excited and looking forward to the opportunity to bond with the community and provide certain training that's going to be really important for saving lives.
As most of us know, EMS stands for Emergency Medical Services, also known as ambulance services or paramedic services, are emergency services that provide urgent pre-hospital treatment and stabilization for serious illness and injuries and transport to definitive care.
EMS is a group of medical professionals who have the sole responsibility of responding to emergency calls. That can be your medical emergency, where it be you're having chest pain, shortness of breath, you're not sure what's happening, you want to be evaluated, you're going to call for us. Or you're in your car, you're driving, and wow, out of the blue there's an accident. We're the persons who are responsible to coming out, assessing the scene, ensuring that the scene is safe for us to actually come to you. We're going to be the persons to stabilize and get you to the healthcare professionals for continuation of care.
Newswatch learns that this EMS week is packed with engaging activities for our communities island-wide, so keep a lookout for an EMS team. They might be right outside your door.
EMS Week 2022, our team is going to be visiting all islands and interacting with the community in various ways. Our first trip is going to be South Caicos, where we will reach out to all of our community members and provide them blood pressure readings and checking their glucose. What's new about this is we're not asking them to come to us, but we're actually going to be going door to door and introducing ourselves, making sure the community members know who we are, and getting them in their comfort zone to provide them the care that they need. Then we're going to be visiting North and Middle Caicos, and we're going to be doing a community outreach with our primary school students. Very excited about that. And then Thursday, our big day, Save a Life Day, we're going to be at the Gustavus Stadium from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., where we're going to be sharing with our community first aid initiatives, whether it be CPR, Heimlich maneuvers for choking victims, and how to stop the bleed.
McDowell told Newswatch that their first trip will be to the Big South, where they also have a great lineup of trainings and activities in place for the community.
Well, tomorrow in South Caicos, we will be doing, like my director previously said, that we're going to be doing just basically like a wellness check. And, I think that's something that's new to the island that we should be bringing, and that's like I say, if you want to come out, we go door to door, do blood checks, do wellness checks, just to see overall how the population is doing, And if we see something, hey, we can refer something to a doctor. Hey, you might want to go to a doctor and get checked out just in case, whatever you feel at the time the ailment is need be. So I think that with that initiative being said, that's going to be something that I'm looking forward to, especially starting in South Caicos and eventually move on to other islands as well.
On Wednesday, the team will venture to the Twin Islands, North and Middle Caicos, to spend time with primary school students.
For Middle and South Caicos with the primary students, it's just an eye opener. Getting the kids interactive, and seeing something different. Seeing the ambulance or seeing the different equipment that we use, just open their eyes up. Hey, that looks cool. You never know. Trust me, it'll put a smile on the kid's face. And just interact with them, show them various tools, things that we do, talk to them, reach out to them. Hey, not wrong with scissors, just little safety tips that help out with kids.
Kids, you'll want to be in school for this. The EMS team say that they have many fun activities planned, which they are sure the kids will love.
As of now, I know we have little coloring books for them, for EMS things, little small games that we can ask them, or a memory game. Hey, what's this instrument that we use? Like I said, let them touch the instrument, let them hear each other's heartbeats, let them check for a pulse, small things like that. So it's just basically overall education.
Minister of Health Honorable Jamel Robinson was also present during this exclusive, showing his support to the EMS.
I'm going on a ride along with the EMS team, so I'll be basically having a snapshot of a day in the life of an EMS worker and all the support staff, so I can see firsthand and have a better appreciation for what they do for the country and for the ministry. So I don't know how I'll fare, but I'm ready and I'm geared up and got my jeans and my sneakers on to pull my weight for that particular time period.
Stay tuned for more of this story in a subsequent newscast. Don't go anywhere. More Newswatch when we return.
This is a reminder that all PTV service accounts are due on the first day of each month. Accounts should be brought up to date by the 28th of the month to avoid disruption in service. Payments may be made on our office at Stubbs Diamond Plaza, Providenciales, Mides Plaza, North Caicos, and Airport Road in South Caicos. Payments may also be made online using Scotiabank, CIBC First Caribbean Bank, and Royal Bank of Canada. Please allow 3 business days for online payments to be processed. We thank you for your cooperation.
Welcome back to Newswatch. The DCR held a Tropical Important Plant Area workshop last week. In yesterday's newscast, we got to see what it was all about. Here's more. The project is focused on identifying tropical important plant areas in the Turks and Caicos Islands. TIPAs are a network of key sites for wild plants and threatened habitats identified using scientifically robust data. They are not legal designations, but a means to identify the most important sites for wild plant diversity and to inform the protection and management of sites.
The main focus of our interest today. We've said that they are areas of exceptional botanical richness, supporting an outstanding assemblage of rare, threatened and or endemic species with vegetation of high botanic value. The TIPA's programme and the criteria originally for TIPAs was first published in 2004 by Plant Life and IUCN, and that kick-started the IPA programme. And that was mainly adopted and taken up by Europe, and so it was temperate countries around the world that really started. And what we realised in 2015, 2016, is that we really wanted to kickstart and move the IPA programme into the tropics. So with some colleagues at Kew, we undertook a global consultation on the criteria to see were they still appropriate to bringing them into the tropics. And we published this paper in Biodiversity and Conservation, which launched the new revised criteria based on this global consultation. And that really, on experience, to move into the tropics. And through that, the tropical important plant areas was kick-started in 2016.
Identifying TIPAs will help prevent the global loss of plant diversity while safeguarding the role of plants as primary producers and providers of ecosystem infrastructure, products, and services.
Really what we're trying to do is identify the globally threatened, those unique species that you have, which are a unique part of biodiversity. If you lost them here, that's lost to the world. So again, it's helping to prioritise. We all have, challenging resources. How do we best use our resources? So here's one where we're trying, and I think many of you are familiar with, it's a very structured system in terms of using and applying the criteria and category to then come up with how closely are they, or how extreme is their threat for extinction. It's an extinction risk assessment, and you have these 3 threatened categories in the middle, critically endangered, or vulnerable. So again, we've got that system to help drive criterion A.
TIPAs also provides a framework for governments to implement Target 5 of the Convention on Biological Diversity Global Strategy for Plant Conservation to ensure the protection of at least 75% of the most important areas for plant diversity of each ecological region by 2020, with effective management in place for conserving plants and their genetic diversity.
Tropical important plant areas are a globally recognised designation to identify the most important sites for wild species, wild plant species diversity, and it's using quantitative criteria to try and identify those sites that we would like to protect for the long term.
A 3-person team has come over from Kew to work with the DCR to work on the 3-year project funded by the UK Darwin Initiative.
Presenters from both parties, both partners that are involved. So Myself, I would have given an overview of the Important Plant Area Programme, which is a global programme to try and identify sites that are the most important sites for wild plant diversity. So I lead a team from the Royal Botanic Gardens Kew, which specialises in island conservation, in particular UK overseas territories. And I'm here with two of my colleagues from the Overseas Territories team, Sarah Barrios, who's our specialist in data analysis and red listing. So this is using population data to try and understand the degree of risk of extinction that a plant faces. And so the idea of red listing a plant, those that are most threatened can have a critically endangered title, and that's would be those plants that need urgent support, both in situ and ex situ. And then I'm here with my other colleague, Marcella Corcoran, who is a specialist in ex situ conservation and helping conserve plants out of their natural habitat. So be that through seed collecting and seed banking, or setting up and helping support native species nurseries to grow plants of local provenance for reintroduction and habitat restoration.
Reportedly, the DECR has gotten great feedback on persons interested in preserving the indigenous plant species of the TCI, and notably so by the presence of so many persons at the workshop.
Running this event today has been so far really exciting to me, in that, especially that we've been waiting this long to do it. I'm really excited to get out in the field, but having a good turnout today, seeing how many people have been interested in the project and learning about the project has been really refreshing to me. I'm very happy that we have so much interest. And we have a good community in Turks and Caicos that does appreciate the local flora, the plants here, the native species, and especially the endemic species, which are found nowhere else on Earth. So we have a good core group, and we have a really interested group. So that's what I'm happy about today most.
Don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Coming up next is your Sports Authority and weather forecast.
This is a reminder that all PTV service accounts are due on the first day of each month. Accounts should be brought up to date by the 28th of the month to avoid disruption in service. Payments may be made on our office at Stubbs Diamond Plaza, Providenciales, Mides Plaza, North Caicos, and Airport Road in South Caicos. Payments may also be made online using Scotiabank, CIBC First Caribbean Bank, and Royal Bank of Canada. Please allow 3 business days for online payments to be processed. We thank you for your cooperation.
Here's the latest in your Sports Authority and weather forecast. May 14th, 2022, Honorable Knowles hosted Whelan's first community event, the Whelan Whiplash Walk, Run, Cycle event, which was notably a successful community initiative, bringing together a cross-section of Wheelanders and participants from the wider community.
It's a beautiful morning in Whelan. This morning is the first of many initiatives that we have planned for our constituency, but this morning in particularly, we have the Whelan Whiplash with a very catchy phrase. It's really a Let's Move Turks and Caicos Whelan initiative where we want to get the community actively involved, get persons up and about, bring a bit of community unity is what we're trying to achieve here, because of course long gone are the days where we used to know our neighbors, but this kind of initiative brings us together from a cross-section of our society where we can participate in fun events.
In this event, we learned that they were also running, walking, and cycling for autism.
Well, you know, in most cases, whenever you do events, you want to patronize or you want to find foundations or organizations that are always in need of assistance And for me, it took a bit of a personal approach. I can tell you, being on the campaign trail, I found out that there were a lot of kids in our community with autism. And of course, we know special needs is a big thing. And whatever we can do to help. Thankfully, Mr. Armando Rigby and his wonderful wife, the founders of the Hope Foundation, we just thought it best to give them some assistance, be it big or small. We just here to help in a very small way.
Honorable Knoll said that the turnout exceeded his expectations, and he's looking forward to more events such as this one.
To be honest with you, I'm quite pleased with the turnout. I really wasn't expecting the numbers that came out this morning. But again, that goes to show you that persons want to be actively involved in wholesome events. It's great to see families out. Again, you can walk, you can run, you can cycle. So you decide the pace, you decide how you want to proceed. I also want to say thank you to the Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force Community Policing Unit. Sergeant Damian Mitchell, he's been definitely a wonder to work with. And again, it just helps us to bring back the core community values that we are missing. Hopefully it springboards into many other initiatives. I'm hopefully going to have a youth summer camp, a basketball camp, a co-ed camp, and hopefully have a little tournament, so families can come out and be a part of events, initiatives within their very own community. And that's what I'm really trying to achieve with an event such as this.
Newswatch also learns that the Wheeling constituency was also able to receive a generous donation of $2,500 from the Provo Water Company to aid in the rejuvenation of the Kareem Walk-In basketball court located on Bay Road, Wheeland.
It's just to bring about community activity, and it's my pleasure to be the leader or the organizer, and thankful to my team as well, the Wheeling Community Foundation, in helping to spearhead this initiative. No one man is an island, and I wouldn't be anything without my team. So I just want to thank them for helping me as well to organize this event.
Honorable Knoll said that a special thanks goes out to their sponsors and partners and all the participants of the first annual Wheeling Whiplash Community Walk, Run, Cycle event. Here's your weather forecast for May 18th, 2022. For the nation's capital, Grand Turk, on Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, high 83, low 78, winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. For South Caicos, mostly cloudy skies, high 83, low 78, winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. For North and Middle Caicos, intervals of clouds and sunshine, high 85, low 78, winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. For Baird and Pine Key, partly cloudy skies, high 84, low 79, winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. And on Providenciales, partly cloudy skies, high 84, low 79, winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Now for your sunrise and sunset. Sunrise 6:10 a.m., sunset 7:23 p.m., and for your high tides and low tides 10:03 a.m., 10:30 p.m., and low tides 4:03 a.m., 4:01 p.m. And that's it for your weather forecast. We'll be right back with more Newswatch.
Here at People's Television, we're more than just your leading news and entertainment services. We are
spreading the gospel.
We are breaking barriers.
We are preserving the culture. Each one, teach one.
We are committed to excellence.
We're creating change.
We are creating memories.
We are the future.
I am PTV.
I am PTV. I am PTV.
I am PTV.
We are PTV.
We are PTV.
We are continuing the legacy. We are PTV.
Welcome back to Newswatch. After a week of heavy intermittent rain stemming from a small system near the Bahamas, some flooding around parts of Providenciales alerted those in the authority to take stock of the country's draining systems. Take a look.
Minister of Physical Planning and Development Honorable Akira Mizik says they now have a good idea of the drainage systems in various areas that need to be addressed ahead of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season.
What we experienced last week was a real good indication of what our wells can hold and how quickly water is subsiding from the pinch point sites, and those places where the pump may not have been working at maximum capacity allows our engineers and our technical team to visit those sites and ensure that we are prepared.
The ministry, in partnership with the Department of Disaster Management and Emergencies, says they have begun site visits and upgrades are being planned. There is a total of some $5.6 million budgeted for the next 3 years for the country's drainage and flood mitigation systems.
We do have $3 million budgeted in this financial year, which will seek to upgrade drainage around the island. We will be focusing on Providenciales for the first quarter of this financial year, as we already have a drainage plan mapped out where drains need to be developed, where they need to be redone and or upgraded, and where further piping needs to be placed.
After a few days of heavy rain that lasted hours at most, places like Grace Bay and the downtown area experienced a few inches of flooding, which officials say is being addressed. The islands, especially Provo, felt the effects of a small system and cold front that formed off the Bahamas last week. Another $3 million pond redevelopment project is allocated for Grand Turk, which will assist with a flood mitigation system for that island.
That brings us to the end of this edition of The Real News. I hate to leave you so soon, but of course, you can join us right back here every weekday at 6:30 p.m. and tap into our social media platforms at www.ptv8tci.com. I'm Erica Penales, keeping you informed, updated, and affiliated. Until next time.